What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Boston's Banter, where the sports are wicked and the banter is Pissah.
Yes,
I'm Frank the Bank. With me, as always, Keith K. Lava La Cava. What's going on, Tony Bromo?
Wait a minute.
Don't leave me
Tony
hanging.
Bromo. Man, last week I was Bromar Garcia Parr. Now you got me as a cowboy, Frank? Come
That's
on,
right,
man.
that's right.
It's all good, though. How we doing, everybody?
What's going on? What's going on? We had a busy week of sports, so why don't you get us started, Tony Bromo?
All right, so let's kick it over to Wicked Pissah News. Tony Bromo. The Tennessee Volunteers defeat the Texas A&M Aggies 6-5 in the College World Series Championship. Winner-take-all game, Frank, and this is the first time in history that they've won the championship in 127 years. Crazy.
It was an unbelievable game.
Crazy.
It was a great game. Both teams had never won the College World Series, so we were going to get a first-time winner, which was really cool to watch. It was a great game, 6-5. I mean,
Close
it was
game,
awesome.
yeah.
It was an awesome game. It was really good.
They actually broke a curse as well, becoming the first #1 seed since 1999, Miami the U, to actually win the national championship. So, curse is broken.
Yeah,
Let's go.
It really was a great game.
And moving on over to the local NHL news, the Boston Bruins have traded goalie Linus Ullmark to the Ottawa Senators. I was very surprised by this, Frank. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, you can't play them both at the same time. I'm glad they got a pick back. They got some other, prospects in the mix. But at the end of the day, he was a great goalie for us. We'll miss him, but I think Swayman obviously played it out of his mind. So he deserved to be on the team and be the #1. So.
Well, the way I look at it, like Bruins GM Don Sweeney, clearly he saw he was expendable. Like you said, Swayman's there, he's been playing his hearts out. I mean, obviously they're not going to play both goalies at the same time. That'd be cool, but it's not going to happen. But, in return, the Bruins received forward Mark Kastelik, goalie Jonas Carpasalo, and a 2024 first-round pick, 25th overall, and that draft's tonight, isn't it, Frank?
Round 1's tonight, starts tonight, so I'm glad we got back in the first round here.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with the Bruins.
Good
It's
job,
the off
Sweeney.
season, but good luck to Ullmark in Ottawa, and we'll see what happens. But that's not the only NHL news we got. This week, we had some other NHL news, Frank, and how about you break that down?
I mean, Game 7.
Stanley Cup.
If you've
That's
been living
right.
under a rock and you missed this, this was crazy. This whole series was crazy. I mean, I got a lot to talk about with this, but it started off 3-0.
Yeah, Panthers were up
Panthers
3-0.
were up 3-0.
Yep.
Oilers only scored 4 goals in the first 3 games. The next 3 games, they scored 18 goals and tied the series up. So it was
18.
It was crazy. So I was actually rooting for the Oilers just for history purposes.
Same here.
You know
Same
what I mean?
here, definitely.
I have some of the stats. It's only been done once in history in the finals where a team has been down 3-0 and came back and won, and it was the 1942 Maple Leafs. This is any major
1942.
sport, mind you. So in the finals. Now, it's happened in the ALCS and MLB. You know who that was.
Boston Red Sox,
Dang
baby.
Right. So, and it's never happened in the NBA. If a team has gone up any time in the playoffs 3-0, not a single team has come back. It's 157-0.
C's almost did it last year against Miami.
Yep. And then in
Love
hockey, it's happened 4 times. 206 times the 3-0 teme won, and only 4 times did a team come back and win a series being down 3-0.
4 times.
So, but that was only once in the finals. So it was the only other time it's ever happened. So just for that purpose, I wanted to see.
So that would have made that
Oilers
even
win.
better to see
I
that
would have
happen
loved to
again,
see it.
man.
And what the Panthers have done to the Bruins the last 2 years. We were up 3-1 last year. We lost, and then they knocked us out this year. But it was good to see the Panthers get their first ever
championship,
So
yeah.
congratulations.
Congratulations to them, of course. And also congratulations to Matthew Tkachuk. Him and his buddy Jason Tatum, both from the same school in St. Louis. Chaminade College Preparatory School in St. Louis. Man, they're celebrating. 2 of their former students are champions in the same week.
Same week. Unreal.
Isn't that insane? And they were friends.
Oh, yeah. There's videos online of them talking about they're going to be champions. And it's pretty cool to see.
2 kids from St. Louis. You
Yeah.
heard Tkachuk say it at the end of the Stanley Cup game, and then Tatum was saying it when he was walking out there before the parade. Tkachuk finished it tonight, and they both did. So congratulations to both those guys and both those organizations.
Well, I'm happy to see Paul Maurice get his first as well. I mean, he's really funny. I don't know if you ever heard any of his sound bites or post games.
I don't think I have.
He's
actually.
awesome, but he's coached almost 2,000 games. He has the most coaching games without ever winning a Stanley Cup in NHL history. It's almost 2,000. 1985 is how many games he's coached without winning a Stanley Cup until now. So this was
Long
his first.
overdue.
Yeah, so
very much long.
Really
overdue.
cool series. A really crazy stat. So during this season, the Oilers lost 3 games in a row a few times, but 3 of the times that they lost 3 games in a row, the next games they ran off huge winning streaks. So could it be done? This team was the team to do.
Yeah, I was
to win 4 in a row.
I was gonna say, what kind of streaks did they have going?
So they lost 3 in a row back in November.
Yep.
From after that 3 in a row loss till December 12th, they won 8 straight games.
Okay.
The next one's even crazier. Later in December, lost 3 in a row. They won 16 games in a row.
After losing another 3.
After losing 3. Yeah. So
16.
Yeah, and then in February, they won another. They lost 3. They won 5 straight. So they were a team to do it. They didn't do it, and it was just one of those things. I mean, really cool.
It almost looked like it was meant for them to do it with those numbers right there.
It was unreal. Yeah, it was a great game. And,
wow.
And I don't know if we talked about it, but this game had the highest TV rating of any World Series game or NBA Finals game in the last 5 years.
Wow.
So this
volumes.
Game 7 had that much of a rating.
Yep.
So there was a lot of people that watched this. So it was really cool. A couple other things just to bring it up. I mean, Connor McDavid, won the Conn Smythe for, MVP of the postseason. He broke the record for Gretzky's assists. He had 34 assists.
Playing his heart out, man.
He was. This is only the second time a non-goalie has won the MVP for the postseason.
I didn't know that
in NHL
either.
history. It's happened for goalies. I think it's 6 times total altogether. So 2 now there's 2 people that were skaters versus goalies.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool. A Canadian team still has not won the Stanley Cup since 1993. So that streak's still going. So go USA. It was a crazy, crazy, crazy series. It was fun to watch, and I love hockey. It's a diehard hockey fan. It was really fun to watch. So
moving over to some NBA news. So as we saw last week, the offseason just started. We already saw a trade last week. We got another trade, everybody. And instead of calling them the New York Knicks, I think we should start calling them the Nova Knicks.
I like that.
The New York Knicks have acquired Mikal Bridges from the Nets, putting him with 3 of his teammates from the 2016 Villanova roster. Now, clearly, they're doing something over there in New York. They're trying to stay contested with the Celtics. Obviously, those guys have a camaraderie. They got chemistry playing together in Villanova.
Yeah,
but let me break down this trade because I think it was very silly, Frank. I got to break this down. The Nets received Bojan Bogdanovic, 4 unprotected first-round picks, the Bucks protected first-round pick, a second-round pick, and also an unprotected pick swap with the Knicks.
Wow.
Very silly. I like Mikal Bridges, but
he is good.
I don't think that
They gave up a lot.
5 first-round picks.
They gave up a lot. They gave up, and they have a lot of guys on their team that could start on other teams. You can't start them all, but they're going to have a very good second unit that comes off the bench. I mean,
yeah, certainly.
They're pretty stacked up. I mean, they're trying to make a run now. I do think they have a lot of similar style guys that aren't necessarily going to. They may not mesh great.
Right.
I mean, you got to have the right, people out there at the right time. So they might have a problem trying to find the right lineups. You know what I mean? So,
well, it's funny because right after this trade went down, they were all on FaceTime together, and they were all gassed up. Understandably so. They're all friends, and now they're all on the same team. They've been trying to get Mikal Bridges to New York for a long time now. They're trying to contest with the Celtics. I don't think it's going to go too well, though, man. I think the C's are too high-powered.
We're still stacked. We're the team to beat still. You know what I mean?
But talk about a silly move. And didn't they just do something else silly?
They did something even sillier, is that OG Anunoby. I mean, $212 million. The guy averaged 14 points a game. It's like, what are they going to pay Jalen Brunson $10 billion?
Yeah.
What are they thinking?
Seriously.
I just don't understand how they're going to keep all these guys. If they don't win in the next year or two, it's like, this guy's on the, signed up for 5 years, but I mean, $40-something million a year
for
a guy that gets $14 million. Average 14 points a game. I mean,
right. And I'm not taking anything away from him. Obviously,
a good player.
He is a good role player for sure, but in all my times and years of watching basketball, I know one highlight play of him in 2020 bubble playoffs where he hit a buzzer beater against us.
Yeah. I mean, he became the highest paid player in Knicks franchise history. It's like
Patrick Ewing.
I mean, you can name a bunch of people, but I mean,
Charles Oakley.
What are they going to pay Jalen Brunson? I mean, the
seriously.
He's an animal. He's a guy that needs that kind of. I mean, OG Anunoby, that's insane to me.
That's the guy they need to pay. But I mean, again, it's. I think it was silly. Both moves there were a little far-fetched, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But moving on to more NBA news, the NBA draft just started, and the Celtics, I'll say, they definitely made some good picks. One of their draft picks, number 30 overall, was a forward from Creighton named Baylor Sherman. Now, this kid's interesting. So, he's the only player in Division I men's history with 2,000 plus points, 1,000 plus rebounds, 500 plus assists, and 300 plus three-pointers. Very versatile, and I think he could come in and provide a spark off the bench like right away. Not like these other guys we've drafted in the past. J.D. Davidson, he doesn't see much minutes. I think Jordan Walsh is on his way to getting minutes, but I think this kid could come right in, and he's got surefire skill according to the analyst, Frank.
He's a good shooter. I mean, I think where he might find some difficulty is his defense. That's been a lot of talk about his defense. I know that obviously Brad Stevens has a connection to Creighton and all that, but to me, he's a good shooter. I don't know if the defense is going to translate, so he needs to work on that. I think that's what I've read anyway, and what I've heard, from different people. So, I think that's
yeah. I mean, for the most part, last season he averaged about 18 points a game, 9 rebounds, nearly 4 assists, and I'll be honest, he shot a pretty impressive 38% from 3 last year.
We love to shoot the 3, so
that's
it fits
what I'm
into the shooting aspect. I mean, we have guys that are going to move on and get paid from other teams at some point, so it's like to put him in and take a 3-pointing spot from somebody else that might move on, then that's probably one of the reasons why they did it. And again, Brad Stevens having that connection, you know what I mean? So, and
I'm excited. I'm honestly excited to see what this kid can do. And then for their second round pick, we took a forward out of Gonzaga named Anton Watson, standing at 6'8". I don't really see him, providing much for us right away. Maybe he's going to be going to the main affiliate.
I mean, let
me pass it on over to you, Frank, with more NBA draft stuff. What do you got for me?
I mean, this year's draft was really interesting. The big talk was that there wasn't one person that just overwhelmingly was going to be like number one. Like last year, Victor Wembanyama was the guy.
Of course.
You knew the second he said he was eligible, you know what I mean? That he was coming out, rather. So there was a lot of parity in the draft, which was a lot of talk about this. There was 6 lottery picks that had no college experience at all. So that tied the record.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool to see as well. A lot of guys could have went, in the top 10 or even the top 5. There's a lot of talk about top 5 talent, top 10 talent. So there was a lot of that going on. I mean, I put in a few bets, which I hit one, for people to go at like exact spots. So there was one guy, and talking to a friend of mine that's big into the AAU basketball scene, my buddy Craig, who's watching, I'm sure he's gonna come on the show one of these days too.
Looking forward to it.
He's really smart and really knows basketball. He's a coach or was a coach and still involved with the AAU program.
Yep.
Great dude. He talked about a few guys that he knows just from the AAU stuff, and I'll talk about them now. But before he even told me about it, Donovan Clingan, who's gonna be blinging in my I put him in at plus 2,000 to go second overall.
Wow.
And so $10 to win 200. I was like, you know what?
Why not?
Why not? He fell to 7. I mean, a lot of analysts had him in the top 5. Okay, so
who took him? The Trailblazers.
Trailblazers did. Yep.
Right.
So he is like an old school. Like I like to just say old school center. Like he just like you come in the paint, you can expect he's gonna be in your face. Like he is strong. He is very good defender. Yep. He's a rim protector. This kid's that was a great pick by Trailblazers. I thought getting him at 7. From UConn, great guy. He played some AAU ball in Boston. That's like what Craig was talking about, how he knew him. I just thought I thought that was a great pick for them.
Well, they need the help over there too.
I'm saying rim protector, like that's what you want.
Yeah, certainly.
Mattis Buzelis, this kid. Again, Craig actually coached him one year in AAU.
That's really cool.
It was. This kid. This kid's awesome. Top 5 talent. He went to his hometown, Chicago, which is really cool. He went at 11, and again, a lot of people had him anywhere from 5 to 10. So he fell a little bit back too. I thought that was a great pick from Chicago. Again, hometown. His family, both his grandfathers played professionally overseas. His mother and his father played professionally.
Family of athletes.
So they all have played professionally, which is great. And I don't know if you saw when he got drafted, what he said in his post-game interview. His post-draft interview.
I did not see that.
He was obviously thanking his supporters, but what I loved was that he thanked his doubters.
Seems like he's definitely motivated. Like you said, if he's thanking his doubters, obviously he's been counted out more than once in his life.
There's a lot of other stuff I got, like the Spurs. Okay, so Stephon Castle, UConn. I had him possibly going number 1 also. He went at 4. That was an amazing pick.
Him and Victor Wembanyama are going to be
Victor and him,
duo.
Pumped, right? But then they had the 8th pick. So they had a real opportunity. They had the 4th and the 8th pick this year They had a really good opportunity to put something together with Victor, right? Mm-hmm. They draft Dillingham from Kentucky. Kid's an animal. Great ball handler. Kid can create his own shots, right?
Yep.
They trade him
To Minnesota.
for a 2030 and 2031 pick. So
I saw that.
4
That
and
was
5
silly.
years from now. I mean, are they like recruiting like 14-year-olds? Like what are they doing?
Right, the YMCA.
You guys had a real opportunity.
Real good opportunity.
To do something and build a really good team with the 4th and 8th pick. And both the guys they chose were great.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you didn't like the 8th pick in Dillingham or whoever, you didn't like anybody, why not trade back, pick up another pick or two this year and something in the future for somebody that did want
5
that?
years from now.
I couldn't believe they did that. It was like almost unbelievable that they did that.
That's interesting too. I mean, that GM, I'm sure the owner of the team's wondering why he did that.
I just couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. The other pick that I really liked was, and a lot of people were talking about it, was Dalton Knecht at 17 to the Lakers. He
I saw
6
that
games this past year with 35 or more points. Okay, that was the most in Division I. Okay,
Wow.
so that's how, and he had that's ties the franchise record for a Tennessee player, or actually is the record for a Tennessee player. So I thought that was a steal. They were saying 9, 10, 11, maybe he'd go there. Mm-hmm. So for the Lakers to get him, and lastly the other Lakers pick. If you saw,
I could have told you this 2 years ago, man.
Everybody knew this was coming. I mean, it's obviously, pre-planned. I feel like some of this, but
He finessed that whole organization to have his son go there. We all know.
And the
who
betting.
it was.
So we're talking about Bronny, obviously. The betting sites had it at 54.5 was his average draft pick. So Lakers are sitting at 55. So you obviously, if you should have took the over.
Right.
Lakers, of course, got Bronny. LeBron for years has been saying, I want to play with my son.
Huge advocate for that, man.
So this is the first active duo in the NBA history to be playing together. They're both going to be active. They will both be on the floor together.
That is pretty cool.
It's neat. I think it's great.
So a lot of people, though, are throwing some kind of negative comments towards that. Like I just said, even, LeBron may have finessed the organization to get his son there, but again, he's LeBron James. But if we're going to be giving Bronny and LeBron James, we're going to be making fun of them and, throwing our shots.
I think it's great.
I'm going to be honest with you, though. We should be making fun of Giannis and Thanasis because Thanasis is only there because of a package deal. Let's face it. What does he do for the Bucks?
There's a lot of talk about that.
Boogers out of Giannis's nose. Come on, man. That's what he does.
A lot of people were talking about the same thing. So, I mean, if it were me and I was a GM, and again, this doesn't necessarily have to be the Lakers, I would have took a shot at Bronny just to get LeBron.
Right.
Okay.
Anybody, or like they said, hold the pick hostage.
The Celtics could have picked him. Like anybody.
Exactly.
Like anybody could have. Imagine that. But there's been a lot of talk that LeBron already had signed his deal, and they already kind of knew, and it does happen that way where it's like. The agent's calling everybody,
right.
Like, don't pick our pick, don't pick our guy.
Even if LeBron didn't sign that deal yet, them just doing that, he's back with LA. He's retiring a Laker, man.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that they did it. I mean, what father wouldn't want to play professional, or even like when my son gets older, if I play softball with him,
that'd be cool.
Anything, just even playing basketball with him. Like, I love coaching him. Like, why wouldn't I love to play with him?
Right. No.
I mean, that's really cool for LeBron.
Definitely congrats to the James family on that. That is pretty cool.
And you know what's even crazier? His second son, Bryce, is only 2 years away from being eligible,
playing with
and he's
both of his
actually
sons.
even a better prospect.
Yeah, he's 6'6", and Bronny stands at 6'2".
So can you imagine LeBron forever? I guess he's just going to be in the league till he's 50 years old, and he'll play with both his sons. So imagine that.
You were right about that.
He'll have a starting 5 out there. All LeBron James' sons.
Yeah, and then the daughter will be the cheerleader.
There you go. Or she could play too. You know what I mean? So it'll be good.
Who knows, man? But congratulations to the James family
really
and
cool,
all those draft prospects. So let's see how they do next year.
Yep. Moving on, we are going to jump into the Foxborough Focus. We got a little bit of OTA stuff to talk about. Not a lot here, but we got to definitely do some updates with that. So why don't you get it started, Keith?
So Patriots OTAs, as we know, we're getting towards training camp and preseason coming up within a month and a half. So far in OTAs, we've been seeing a lot of things. Obviously, we all expect Jacoby Brissett to be the starting quarterback for the Patriots. Now, under him, obviously, first-round pick Drake May, Bailey Zappi, and then also another rookie in Joe Milton. Now, Jacoby Brissett's been taking the first-team reps. We've all expected that. But Drake May has been seeing an increased reps over Zappi, even getting some over Jacoby. I guess they're trying to see him with the first-team offense and everything. And then another news I heard going into the OTAs is that Juju is starting to show some flashes. Now, last year, let's face it, last year was a really bad year for him. He had 29 catches, 260 yards, and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, that's terrible.
To the year before when he was with Kansas City, get it, Patrick Mahomes is his quarterback,
Yeah, but
obviously.
still.
78 catches, 933 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So getting him last year, obviously losing Jacoby Myers, we thought he would have provided a spark. He didn't. But going into this OTAs, I'm hearing he's starting to show some flashes. But Frank, the only issue with that is, will he make the team with all the receivers they have?
You got to pay him. I mean, you already paid him, I thought. So
No, they did, but I've been hearing, though, he
trying
could
to
be
cut
the
him.
odd man out. I heard him and Tyquan Thornton could be the 2 odd men out on the wide receiver depth chart. Because let's face it, other than them, Kendrick Bourne, Pop Douglas, KJ Osborne, the 2 rookies, and Jalen Polk and Javon Baker.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you also have Jalen Rager, who we forget at the end of last season, they've been using him at kick return. He returned a kick against the Bills for a touchdown. And then Keyshawn Butte, who he had his little issue in the beginning of the offseason with the betting scandal, you know, when he was at LSU.
Yeah.
They've been looking past that, and I guess he's been looking really good in OTA, so who knows if he could even make the jump and show up for
Yeah.
us next season.
We have a lot of, I don't know, I wouldn't say we don't have a star really, but we have, well, Pop Douglas. I like DeMario. I think DeMario is really good.
We have a lot of role players,
but we had a
man.
lot of like above average guys, so it's just like almost like the Knicks, where you got to figure out which guys fit right.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
So yeah,
I'll be honest though,
interesting.
I don't see Juju making the team. That's my opinion.
If they can, if they can save any cap hit, then yeah, why not?
Right, and then with all those other guys, I mean, am I hoping he doesn't know? I'd like to see him back on the team. That's more depth for us. He's a veteran, but at the same time, with all these other guys, and if he is starting to show some flashes, easily, I think he could. But I'll be honest, with those other guys like I just named, I don't see him making the team. So we will
not.
see what happens during
That makes
preseason.
sense.
And then we got some guys that are struggling in OTAs as of right now. I mentioned his name earlier, Bailey Zappi. He seems like he's the obvious quarterback out with all the other guys they have there. You know, Drake May, Jacoby Brissett, Joe Milton. I don't see them keeping Zappi, and I heard he's been even having his struggles in camp. KJ Osborne, who we recently signed from the Vikings this offseason. I guess he really hasn't shown much impact. He's still learning the playbook and everything. I've heard he's kind of been dealing with some drops, and they've even had him as the Z. You know, that's the leading receiver in the offense.
Yep.
He really hasn't been getting open, I guess. But again, it's OTAs, so we'll see what happens. But that's just what I'm reading. And then Tyquan Thornton, and he's had injuries upon injuries. The guy's fast.
He's very fast.
The guy showcases really good speed. His problem is not the best hands, and he just can't stay healthy.
Stay on the field.
So if I had to predict 2 receivers off that board, I'd say Juju and Tyquan might not make the roster. What do you got for us from OTAs, Frank?
All right, Keon White's been a big talk from Mayo. I mean,
Keon White, the edge rusher, man. I like him.
This is his second year. He was our second round pick last year.
Yep.
A lot of praise from the head coach. One of the things that that I've hearing a lot of is the offensive line. A lot of woes there and like issues trying to figure out where they want people, and I've heard a lot about that.
Yep.
I also, one of the things I read too is that, and it's going to be a tough year for the Patriots. Again, what we talked about last time was they have one of the toughest schedules in the league.
They do have
But
a really tough schedule.
they also, from a betting site standpoint, they are not favored in a single game this year. They are the dog in every single game from a betting standpoint.
Wow.
So if you think they're going to win 6 or 7 like we talked about,
I still do.
you might want to put the money on them because you're going to be getting plus money.
Hey, man, we'll go to Foxwoods, man.
There you go. FanDuel it
No,
up.
but you're right about that offensive line, though, Frank. I mean, they definitely were struggling last year, but going into this offseason as well, they re-signed Michael Onwenu, like we talked about in the first episode, but he's dealing with injuries. Cole Strange potentially could be missing the majority of the season. Mind you, I always say, I think we kind of wasted a first-round pick on him.
Yeah, a lot of people said that was a stretch at that spot
The
anyway.
Rams saw our pick, and they made fun of us.
Yeah.
Because they thought they could have caught him in day 2.
That's a lot of people thought that.
Yeah, man.
I remember that. So, I mean, Edelman attended OTAs for a day or two, and he spoke on what he saw. He saw a lot of great communication, they said, which was good on defense in particular. We already know our defense is going to be real good.
The defense is going to be the staple of our team.
I feel like they're going to be tired out by the end of the year, though, because I feel like the offense is. He said that Jacoby looked like he was like confident in calling plays well, but still, he said some other stuff too that was just like look good, but a lot of work to do.
Lot
still.
of work, and they
but
all know that.
defense. He really was like they were flying around.
Well,
they were
like you said it, man. They're going to be gassed and winded. But a lot of those games last year where we were stopping teams. I mean, how much more can they do when the offense is getting consistent 3 and outs?
Oh yeah, no, that's what I mean.
So let's hope that after the OTAs we get into training camp and things just start to flourish, and we'll see how the preseason goes. Because I don't care if they're not favored in every game, Frank. I am excited for the season like every year.
But let's move on to the lava round. This week we're gonna kind of do our predictions on who we think is going to be NFL leaders in categories. So I'd like to start off with like the most passing yards, and I think we talked a little bit about this before, but similar guy I think we had on this one. We might have the same guy, I'm not sure, but I like CJ Stroud a lot this year.
Same here.
Oh, you do?
Yes,
so that's
sir.
your guy too. So he's kind of a dark horse, obviously, too, but they just got Diggs. They have a ton of receivers. I mean, their team is stacked. He was 8th in the league in passing yards last year as a rookie without Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's my guy. And what do you have on him?
So, like you were saying, 8th in the league last year, and that was without Diggs, with really just Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz.
And Dell missed some time, too.
He did, exactly. He had 4,108 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. But here's where it gets interesting with those 5 interceptions. He threw 3 in one game against the Cardinals.
He started his first,
very efficient
wasn't his
passer.
first 6 or 8 games he didn't throw an interception or even
0 interceptions.
It was like
0
crazy for a
interceptions.
rookie. He's very smart with the ball.
Yeah, he's a very efficient passer, and a lot of people really think he should have went number 1 over Bryce Young.
I mean, looking back,
Yes,
I'm sure
certainly.
Carolina wished they did that.
Oh, I saw a picture of a Panthers fan at the draft, and they had a Panthers jersey on. On the back, it said Stroud, not Young. He's hurting.
That's crazy. What do you got for receiving yards?
Receiving yards, I think this one's pretty easy. I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill.
Oh, my God. We're 2 for 2.
2 for
That's
2.
exactly. I mean, I didn't even write nothing about that.
Great minds think alike.
So, yeah, Tyreek Hill, he's a baller. I mean, he's 200 yards a game. It doesn't even matter. He just throws it up. He catches it. He's just ridiculous.
Well, two years in Miami, Frank, he's posted over 1,700 receiving yards. The guy is filthy nasty. He is so fast. I'd be watching games, even if the Patriots aren't playing the Dolphins. On the bottom ticker, they got the stats and everything.
Yep.
You'll see him start at 100 yards. 140 yards, 180 yards. And by the fourth quarter, the guy's got 200 consistently.
It's just unbelievable, yeah.
And then you'll see the thing, Tyreek Hill broke open for another touchdown, so I definitely see him leading the league in receiving yards.
He didn't lead the league in
year.
receptions last year. It was CeeDee Lamb, but he led the league in receiving yards.
Yeah.
He had
So
16 less catches.
Yep, he was number
pretty-
1 last year, and he had 119 receptions, which is tied for second.
It was tied for second.
Yep.
So, what about rushing yards?
Rushing yards, Frank. Pretty interesting running back here. He actually blew up last year. I'm going with Kyron Williams.
Okay.
Now, Kyron Williams, his first year in the league, he only had 35 attempts for 139 yards. The Rams didn't use him at all, but they also still had Cam Akers and a few other guys there. Now, going into this year, where he kind of boosted his way up to the top of the depth chart, he posted 1,144 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns. Now, going into this team, the Rams, Matthew Stafford is not getting any younger. No. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to be able to throw the ball around with those weapons they have. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and all those guys.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Robinson's even slept on.
Yeah,
but I really do feel that they are going to be using Kyron Williams a lot to give Matthew Stafford a break.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I like Kyron. I said it a couple episodes ago that he's really good.
I think he's going to be definitely leading the league. And last year, he was 3rd in rushing yards behind CMC and only Derrick Henry.
Yeah, CMC obviously, if he stays healthy, I mean, if San Fran's smart and if they can keep their backup healthy, then let him rest a little bit. I feel like they're going to run away with some games anyway. But I have Henry which I really like the narrative on Barkley, Saquon. So DeAndre Swift was 5th in the league last year in Philadelphia.
I was going to say,
Swift's good, but he is not Saquon Barkley.
No.
I mean, Saquon Barkley on that team, I could see him leading the league in rushing yards. I really could. Derrick Henry, like you said, was 2nd. Baltimore runs the ball more than anybody. They made Gus Edwards look like a star. They made J.K. Dobbins when he was healthy. It's unbelievable what they can do with their scheme, their run scheme. Mm-hmm. So Derrick Henry could. I think he's not getting any younger, kind of like the Stafford comment. But
I think what takes away from him is just Lamar Jackson.
Lamar's going to get his too, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, there's games where you're looking at guys like, well, who is this? Why is he getting this many yards?
So I agree with you on the Saquon Barkley one.
Saquon is who I really kind of like is my guy that if CMC doesn't play as much. I mean, CMC's one
he's
of
a
the best.
dog. He's
if
on the
not
cover of the
best.
new Madden coming out, so he's a
an
dog.
animal.
We all know that. But like you just said it, seeing what Saquon did with that horrible New York Giants offensive line, and now he's with Philly, where they got some studs on that. I mean, Jason Kelsey retired, but I could see that, Frank, and I think that's a good one
like
too.
that. As long as he can stay healthy. He's had some injury
100%.
concerns, so that's pretty good. What do you got for receptions?
Receptions, I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions. Now, last year he had 119 receptions, and he was tied with Tyreek Hill for receptions, second in the league behind CeeDee Lamb. Now, each year, Frank, he's gotten consistently better. Literally every year. His rookie year, he posted 90 receptions, 912 yards, 5 touchdowns. 2022, 106 receptions, 1,161 yards, 6 touchdowns. And then last year, like I just said, 119 receptions, 1,515 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Wow. He's getting better, and I just see him on that Lions offense getting all the targets.
I like
him,
it.
Jameson Williams, and Sam Laporta, but let's face it, seeing those numbers there, going down the line as he's progressing in the NFL, all he's doing is getting better. I don't see any slowing down from him.
He's an animal. He's an absolute animal.
Absolutely.
I got kind of a dark horse candidate here, too. So
Can't wait to hear it.
Garrett Wilson.
I like that.
Okay, with Aaron Rodgers. Again, if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, which, he has been healthy for most of his career until last year. He had 95 catches last year, Garrett Wilson did, with you throwing him the ball, me throwing him the ball. I mean, like they were grabbing people out of the stands to let throw this guy the ball.
They had a guy named
catches.
Boyle out there.
Yeah, they had guys you can't even name. Like, so it's literally crazy. So that tied him for 15th in the league.
Yeah, that's impressive.
So I mean, with Rodgers, how much is that number going to go up? It should go up a lot.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So he's kind of my dark horse there. I mean, obviously CD's going to get his, Amon's going to get his. I mean, there's plenty of guys. It really, Tyreek's going to get a bunch of catches. So I mean, it's
absolutely.
But I like Garrett Wilson this year to make a bigger step. Again, 95 catches with guys you can't even name.
And again,
Zach Wilson.
Right, of course, Tim Boyle. But in that offense, Frank, it makes sense for him to potentially be the receptions leader because behind him is Mike Williams. And let's face it, Mike Williams is a physical receiver, but he's not going to be eating up all the targets, man.
And remember what Devontae did with Aaron Rodgers for all those years.
Right.
That could be that. And Garrett Wilson's a great route runner. He's wicked quick.
Too,
he's young.
He's got so much potential.
And I think the Jets are going to have a good season overall. I really do. I hate to say that.
I do too.
I can't
it
stand
hurts
saying
me to
that.
hear you say that.
It's true though. I mean, and actually moving on to the sacks leader, I actually have another Jet who was on Philly last year, Hassan Reddick. As a possible, again, he was 15th in the league last year. I think he missed a game or two. But now with Rodgers, if the Jets are playing from ahead, which I expect them to, more often than not, that's when you see a lot more sacks. When you know a team's going to throw, you just let the guys loose. So Hassan Reddick has all the ability to do that. And again, this is if he doesn't hold out, which there was some talk about that. I don't know if that's still a thing, but this kid's got some talent. He's kind of my dark horse for that. I mean, obviously TJ Watt, animal. He's going to get his always.
Man, you just named my person. TJ Watt, everybody. That's who I'm taking as the league leader in sacks next year. In 2023, he had 19 sacks and 1 interception. I know we're not talking about that now. That's pretty impressive for a pass rusher.
Kid's an animal.
First in sacks last year. Now, here's a bold prediction, everybody. I'm actually predicting TJ Watt to break the sack record this year.
Nice.
Now, the sack record is 22.5 by Michael Strahan, but people forget in 2021, TJ Watt tied that record. And I could see him potentially breaking the sack record this year. Getting 23, 24, Frank.
That'd be awesome. What do you got for interceptions leader?
We got a Patriot on this one, Frank, and I'm taking Christian Gonzalez. Now, I'm sure there are going to be some people that are saying, what? Thank you, Frank. So, Christian Gonzalez, rookie last year out of Oregon. Very lengthy, good corner with some speed. He missed majority of the season after playing 4 games due to a torn labrum. Now, the reason I'm picking him to be the potential interception leader next year, his first month in the league being a rookie, and obviously translating from college to that as a defensive guy can be very difficult, but his first official month in the league, he posted an interception, a sack, numerous tackles, a bunch of pass breakups. Now, those receivers that he played against in those first 4 games were not bums. He played against the likes of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, who he held catchless and picked him off, and Garrett Wilson. All those guys he held to under 50 yards. Now, those guys may have had more yards in that game, but I'm talking primarily when he was covering them.
Right.
He held A.J. Brown to 4 catches for 47 yards, Devontae Smith to 2 for 22. Like I said, Tyreek Hill caught no passes, and he picked off a pass on him.
Yep.
Jalen Waddle had 1 for 15, and Garrett Wilson had 3 for 18. He even garnered praise from the guy I'm picking to be the receiving leader, and you as well, in Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill called him a really good rookie. Like I said, very lengthy with some good speed. He's like, they got some good pieces over there in New England, and he thinks that dude is really going to be a good piece of our defense.
Oh, yeah, he is. Our defense is stacked.
I think
Our
Christian
defense is so
Gonzalez
good.
sailing is
He's
all the
he's
way up
nasty.
here, man.
He's nasty. Well, I had Charvarius Ward. I think they're going to be playing, from ahead a lot. Again, just talking about San Fran again. This kid was 4th in the league last year for interceptions.
He's gonna provide a spark.
I love it. And that's all we got for tonight. What?
You gotta be quiet, man.
Why?
It's June 28th.
Yeah?
A Quiet Place Day 1 is now in theaters.
I don't care about that. From Titletown to your town, thanks for tuning in, guys. Stay wicked, Pissah.
From Foxborough to your borough, thanks for listening. Frank, run.